A reading from the book of Leviticus, chapter 1. The Lord called to Moses from the tent of the Lord's presence and gave him the following rules for the Israelites to observe when they offer their sacrifices. When you offer an animal sacrifice, it may be one of your cattle or one of your sheep or goats. If you are offering one of your cattle as a burnt offering, you must bring a bull without any defects. You must present it at the entrance of the tent of the Lord's presence so that the Lord will accept you. You shall put your hand on its head, and it will be accepted as a sacrifice to take away your sins. You shall kill the bull there, and the Aaronite priests shall present the blood to the Lord, and then throw it against all four sides of the altar located at the entrance of the tent. Then you shall skin the animal and cut it up, and the priests shall arrange firewood on the altar and light it. They shall put on the fire the pieces of the animal, including the head and the fat. You must wash the internal organs and the hind legs, and the officiating priest will burn the whole sacrifice on the altar. The odor of this food offering is pleasing to the Lord. If you are offering one of your sheep or goats, it must be a male without any defects. You shall kill it on the north side of the altar, and the priests shall throw its blood on all four sides of the altar. After you cut it up, the officiating priest shall put on the fire all the parts, including the head and the fat. You must wash the internal organs and the hind legs, and the priest will present the sacrifice to the Lord and burn all of it on the altar. The odor of this food offering is pleasing to the Lord. If you are offering a bird as a burnt offering, it must be a dove or a pigeon. The priest shall present it at the altar, wring its neck, and burn its head on the altar. Its blood shall be drained out against the side of the altar. He shall remove the crop and its contents and throw them away on the east side of the altar where the ashes are put. He shall take hold of its wings and tear its body open without tearing the wings off, and then burn it whole on the altar. The odor of this food offering is pleasing to the Lord. The word of the Lord. A reading from the book of Leviticus, chapter 2. When any of you present an offering of grain to the Lord, you must first grind it into flour. You must put olive oil and incense on it and bring it to the Aaronite priests. The officiating priest shall take a handful of the flour and oil and all of the incense and burn it on the altar as a token that it has all been offered to the Lord. The odor of this food offering is pleasing to the Lord. The rest of the grain offering belongs to the priests. It is very holy, since it is taken from the food offered to the Lord. If the offering is bread baked in an oven, it must be made without yeast. It may be thick loaves made of flour mixed with olive oil, or thin cakes brushed with olive oil. If the offering is bread cooked on a griddle, it is to be made of flour mixed with olive oil, but without yeast. Crumble it up and pour the oil on it when you present it as an offering. If the offering is bread cooked in a pan, it is to be made of flour and olive oil. Bring it as an offering to the Lord and present it to the priest, who will take it to the altar. The priest will take part of it as a token that it has all been offered to the Lord, and he will burn it on the altar. The odor of this food offering is pleasing to the Lord. The rest of the offering belongs to the priests. It is very holy, since it is taken from the food offered to the Lord. None of the grain offerings which you present to the Lord may be made with yeast. You must never use yeast or honey in food offered to the Lord. An offering of the first grain that you harvest each year shall be brought to the Lord, but it is not to be burned on the altar. Put salt on every grain offering, because salt represents the covenant between you and God. You must put salt on all your offerings. When you bring to the Lord an offering of the first grain harvested, offer roasted grain or ground meal. Add olive oil and put incense on it. The priest will burn that part of the meal and oil that is to serve as a token, and also all the incense as a food offering to the Lord. The word of the Lord.